So all right, hard gainers, what I wanted to just add a little video here talking about Andy Sinclair. Andy Sinclair as a true hard gainer success story. Now you see Andy in all my videos for the hard gainer solution exercise demos, and that's purposeful. Andy is indeed a hard gainer, although you would never know it to look at him. But let's walk through all the parameters and how and why this is true and how and why he overcame his hard gainer genetics. So what has he done? Fitness model, cover model, one of the most eye-catching physiques you're ever going to see. Trust me, I watch the reactions to Andy when he walks into the gym, walks into the room, etc., etc. Now, one thing you need to know is Andy would not do very well in a physique competition. He doesn't have the widest clavicles, so it would make it hard for him to have a good stage physique in terms of the narrow waist and the wide clavicles, being able to develop a thick back, things like that. However, that would be one thing that would destroy his natural very natural good lines and balance in the physique that he's accomplished. So one thing doesn't necessarily mean another. The fact that he wouldn't do well in a physique contest doesn't mean, of course, that he'd ended up on more magazine covers than 99% of the bodybuilders I know. So from the beginning, it was like, let's go a different route. So that doesn't even matter that he wouldn't do well in a physique competition, all right? Most people will relate to his kind of physique more so than the hardcore drug-induced physique. And also, let's keep in mind that Andy sustains his physique and his ripped body all year long and drug-free. So all the videos that you saw us recording, that took from January to July to record. And as you can see, he's in tip-top shape all through it. So now let's backtrack. What makes Andy a hard gainer? He's tall and lanky, 6'4", almost 6'5", very long limbs, as you can see, arms and legs, very long, and a long torso. That means when he lifts weights, he has to move the weights through a greater range of motion than most other people do. People of shorter stature, people like myself, people even shorter, etc. So that should make him weak, and it does make him weak by comparison. However, that has nothing to do with developing a world-class physique. As you can see, Andy has really full muscle bellies everywhere, especially his arms. His biceps are freaky considering how long his arms are. His bicep development is freaky. So anatomically, he should have small arms, but his arms are full and developed right from origin point to insertion point, biceps to triceps, and you can see that as well in the videos, especially if you've ever seen him training and pumped up. So how did he overcome his hard gainer genetics? One, he follows the precepts of my innovation training methodology, and he always has. So what does that mean? Well, from the get-go, from the very beginning, he came to me and hired me as a coach because of my reputation back then and friends that he had who I was coaching at the time. So by hiring me from the beginning, unlike a lot of you hard gainers out there, he didn't waste time trying various other methods only to end up back where he started. There was no wasted years for Andy. So he embraced the innovation precept that it's the muscles that work the weights, not the weights that work the muscles. All right? And the strength world bias that, oh, you got to get strong in order to get big, he was able to put that aside and trust in me that no, he wanted to develop physique, and gaining strength was only secondary to that. We have never had Andy on a pure strength program, not ever. So that's important. However, he has done the Hard Gainer Solution program, and he did it for almost a year. So number two, how did he get there? He bulked up. Andy put away his ego like no one else, like very few other people can, and he bulked up for a full 18 months in the beginning, almost hitting 300 pounds. In fact, he might have, I just don't remember. So you can check out before and after pictures of Andy from back then as well. He bought into, when I explained to him, hey, Andy, you know, you're a hard gainer, you're tall and lanky, you're not going to put on muscle easy. Best thing you could do for yourself right now is bulk up and look long-term. And he bought in. He didn't bulk up for a few months and then say, this is too hard on my ego. I hate looking like this. He stayed with it until we saw all the biofeedback signs where he could diet down and know that he had optimized his metabolism, that he was in a muscle building mode, all those things. So he bulked up, but he bulked up for a requisite period of time long term, and it's now paid off all these years later. So now it's great that you see Andy demonstrating the Hardgainer Solution workout exercises, because you can see for yourself, very long limbs, very tall and lanky, but he also has a top 1% impressive physique development. I'm telling you, most people, if you put up a hardcore Olympia bodybuilder, especially in the off season, and you have Andy walk beside him on the beach, 90% of people out there are going to say they prefer Andy's physique over that other person. And especially if you if you control for gender biases, you'll see that Andy has the most impressive physique in terms of, hey, I'd like to look like that. How does that look? So Andy is a Hardgainer achievement success story beyond compare. So how did he get there? How did he stay there? Well, as a side note, Andy has also been following my cycle diet for over a decade now, and his cheat days, of course, are epic and are famous, getting famous online. Going to Five Guy Burger and having the double burger with the family-sized fries, and then washing that down with a dozen donuts all in one sitting. Andy follows the cycle diet, and because he's followed the cycle diet for a decade, he's optimized his metabolism in a way that other people are going to take a few years to get there. He did that years ago, so he reaps the benefits of that. So that's allowed him also to stay in incredibly ripped shape. Because he's on the cycle diet, he stays in incredibly ripped shape year-round, and he can still make gains by doing so, still able to do all the programs that I assign him. So as far as what's possible for the Hardgainer, if you look at someone like Andy Sinclair, who really comes from the stock of the Hardgainer demographic when it comes to genetics, when it comes to anatomical structure, being tall and lanky with long limbs and a long torso, doesn't usually bode well for developing a great physique. So kudos to Andy, shout out to Andy, but more so as a lesson for all you Hardgainers out there who are wondering about the viability of the program and the methodology and the theory and the science behind it. Andy is a living, breathing example of a Hardgainer, a true, in the world, real world Hardgainer natural success story. So there you go, just a sort of side benefit bonus video. Check Andy out, and I think you would find it, if you could make that kind of dent in your Hardgainer genetics, you'd be pretty satisfied. So there's just one example, Andy Sinclair, a true Hardgainer success story. So I'll leave that with you to contemplate, and I hope you're enjoying the program.